Oftentimes, I've seen the argument that classic Sonic is about going fast and getting hit by unfair enemies you can barely see. Heck, it's something I've personally felt in playing the classics. But there are plenty of essays to tell you why that's incorrect. Many will take a level from Sonic, often the first zone in one of the classic titles, and explain the different ways the level teaches the player how to best harness Sonic's speed, how maintaining Sonic's momentum is rewarded through repeat playthroughs and level knowledge, how it's not a game of gotta go fast, but gotta obey the speed limit, but also go fast and avoid traffic. In a lot of ways, Sonic is like beating a time trial in a racing game. Best learning how your vehicle controls, and then applying your knowledge to various tracks, getting better and ultimately more fulfilling times as you put the brakes on less and less. In this way, Sonic is the perfect low skill floor, high skill ceiling game, where you could just trudge through levels slowly and abusing ring invincibility, but with every try, you become a better Sonic, and the game becomes more fun. The issue is that it doesn't actually do that very well, in my estimation at least. I'd never argue that Sonic is too difficult, but rather too punishing. Every aspect of the game almost seems to bully Sonic until the game clicks, and even after getting decent at the game, it still isn't a lot of fun until you get really close to that skill ceiling. Falling into a pit, grabbing the speed shoes in front of a dangerous area, losing your chance at a bonus level because you got hit, the oddly restrictive continue system, all of it seems counterintuitive to the ideas of improvement and moving forward. Compared to a good speed game like, I don't know, picking a random example that has nothing to do with my own biases, Crash Team Racing. Sure, it's got its own complex momentum system with reserve boosting and drift boosting and sacred fire, but the level design is complementary to getting back into the race, with speed boosts on the track and boost options at the player's disposal to pick them up when they fall behind. Sonic's got springs into Spin Dash, but trusting them can make the screen scroll right into an enemy or hazard, and going too cautiously denies you the flow that Sonic's controls strive for. You must learn the perfect balance, or get dunked on and sent to the less fulfilling route. And maybe it's because I'm a Donkey Kong kid who hurled himself into Sonic later, but that's never quite gelled with me. Sonic 3 and Knuckles corrected this a bit by using speed as a means to solve optional environmental puzzles rather than as a main challenge, creating secrets for the player to find in every nook and cranny. Getting the speed shoes in Carnival Night Zone to nab this extra life is much better than getting the shoes in Green Hill Zone and being immediately greeted by enemies and spikes. But outside of Angel Island and Mushroom Hill, I never found zones where the philosophy that using all speeds, slow to learn and explore, fast for spectacle, and just right for achievement, was played with in a satisfying way. That is, except for one. And oddly, one that's decried for its strange presentation, Sonic & Knuckles' Sandopolis Act 2. At a glance, you can pretty easily see why this level seems un-Sonic. You stop at multiple times to push these switches, these sand slides straight from Labyrinth Zone dunk Sonic down in an infinite loop. These rappelling sections don't seem to add anything other than something unique for Sonic to do, and with the exception of a few Knuckles-exclusive routes, it's incredibly linear. The zone seems to harken back to the worst, pace-breaking aspects of Sonic 1, a dedicated platform challenge designed not to reward the player's momentum mastery, but to let the player relax and enjoy some traditional platforming. However, I've always really loved this level, and I think that learning it is some of the most fun I've had in classic Sonic. First of all, the level quickly introduces these spooky ghosts. Slowly, the lights will dim in this tomb, the adorable specters turning more angry and murderous as the shadows encroach. The player can keep them at bay by locating one of these switches to turn off the dark, normally located before or after one of the level's large, endlessly looping set pieces. This creates a challenge for the player. use their understanding of level geometry and speed to figure out how to advance, or else start the section over again. This does not penalize the player with a slower route upon failure. Instead, the player simply has to head back a tiny distance to try again, and try not to overextend and get lost. Hubris is the most dangerous enemy in Sandopolis, and I love it. The player having to theorycraft a way through the tomb, test out their hypothesis on where to go, and either speed back to safety if they're wrong, or speed forward to try to find the next light switch if they're correct. This is complemented by timed challenges based on pushing these blocks. Now, yes, you will have to push these blocks and go slower even if you're an expert Sandopolis player, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Each switch opens a door somewhere later in the level, slowly closing in and requiring Sonic to solve a short puzzle or finish a small platforming section before he's closed in. Think of these push blocks as setting a timer, getting the player ready for a speed-based challenge. These individual challenges do a great job in helping learn Sonic's burst momentum options, and more importantly, how to control them so you don't overshoot a jump. And if you fail, no problem. You just have to push the block again. A 2-second process that's far less punishing than having to try to scale some slope to escape the lower path. Finally, the level is excellent at making its spectacle set pieces matter. Due to the looping nature of the stage, being able to take in areas slowly during rappelling sections down these walls, or being able to travel vertically through these weird sand waterfalls, makes for a very unique connection towards Sonic's expansive, vertical level design. It lets a player feel out what the right route through the tomb should be, while the ghosts keep the player from growing too comfortable and push them to move forward. This rising sand section toward the end keeps the player's ability to adapt in check, blocks strategically placed in the player's way to up the tension and make them hope they can go just fast enough before Sonic is buried alive. And this giant sand slide is just fun. I like it. But all these elements work together to provide the balance that a good Sonic level should achieve. Going slow to analyze, going fast for the sake of execution, and putting pressure on the player to find that middle ground where they're not just recklessly barreling forward. And through all of that, never putting the player in a position where they're truly trapped in the slow lane. I won't pretend that I've discovered the secret to classic Sonic's draw here. The appeal of Sonic is as wide as it is ill-defined. Sonic has always been a series of ambition first and common sensibility second, with everything working to capitalize on the feeling and new ideas Sonic's trying to bring out. For me, the classic series does a masterful job in creating a character with a deep momentum system to reward new players who keep plugging away, playthrough after playthrough, learning from him. It's just that the individual set pieces of level design rarely gel in a fluid way, at least in later levels, without punishing the player by placing this momentum-based character in an unfun area ill-suited to his skill set. Sandopolis Act 2 stands in stark contrast to this, requiring the player to explore a maze and find the fastest escape, letting the player try and use Sonic's tools in isolated challenges and encouraging him into the next one, using set pieces that don't automate Sonic's movement, but find different ways to use and challenge his momentum, even if he has to stop for a second to set it up. I find those lessons to be at the heart of Sonic, and I think it's something that his fans do follow, at least to some extent. Sonic Mania takes cues from this, with Metallic Madness's shrinking Sonic sections, or the different bouncy gels in Chemical Plant, or even the conceit of Titanic Monarch and Stardust Speedway's second acts. All individualized set pieces for a player to slow down, learn about, and then master, encouraging them to move forward rather than to shut their brain off and go into a ball. I may not love classic Sonic, but I see what makes him so appealing, and I think Sandopolis has shown me just how I can best appreciate him. In control, design, and spectacle, it's a microcosm of all that Sonic has to offer in one slightly spooky package. It is how to design for Epitome.